Hello, Just Too Good here, back with another video, and today I'm reviewing the LEGO Mixels Series 5 Frosticon sets. Now, these are set number 41539 through 41541, and we'll be taking a look at Krog, Chilbo, and Snoof, as well as the Max model, which uses instructions officially posted on the LEGO Mixels website. And we'll be taking a look at that model after we take a look at these three individual models. And these will retail for $5 in the United States. And now, without further ado, let's start with Krog. So here is Krog, and he's the one of the Series 5 Frosticons with Nixel. And the Nixel itself has kind of a cool design to them. You know, they all kind of look a little bit like cat-like creatures. This one has that printed face right there, which we've gotten before. Still really nice and kind of adds a little bit of flavor to it. And it actually has these three spike pieces, or that three spike kind of modified plate in black, which I really like getting that in black. So I like that right there. And for Krog himself, this is my favorite out of the three, and I really like how he came out. My favorite part of him is his eye region. I love how they use this minifigure piece right here, which we're used on a lot of different occasions before, and they don't quite have a name to them, but here they kind of use them as these frozen spikes, which add a lot of flavor to this kind of eye region. They also use a nice translucent radar dish right there, one of the bigger ones. I like how that came out, and then the eye just goes in the middle there, and I think it really gives a kind of cool and compact look. And yes, I do mean the pun when I say cool look. I'm the pun master. And his mouth actually opens because it's on a ball joint, the upper half of his mouth. And you just kind of have this nice tongue right here, and these teeth on the bottom. Kind of like how they use the kind of, forward spikes right there with the little three spike in white right there, and it kind of has this cool look to him where you could kind of open up his mouth like that and give him this big wide open mouth, or you could close it like that. I mean, it does say that he does like chomping on things, so that's quite interesting and kind of adds to the personality of the character. And also my favorite part of this in terms of unique pieces are the inclusion of these little Exoforce robot arms in this medium azure color. We haven't gotten it in that color before, and they look very nice here, and it's a nice inclusion with that. Other than that, there's not too much going on here. He has some kind of detailing on the back with these kind of sloped additions, which is pretty cool. So the back isn't too, just kind of vacant and very stud showing and stuff like that. It's actually gives it a nice smooth look to the back. And for his legs, he just kind of uses these kinds of bricks on the side, which is very common for these Mixels, but it works just fine because it gives it a nice way to stand up. And if you want to switch it around to maybe put it this side, they are on two ball joints, or the mini ball joints, so you kind of give it like that look right there, which honestly I think it looks better with this, with the sides kind of facing the bottom. So that's it for Krog. Very cool guy right here. And now let's go on to the next Mixel of this wave. Next up is Chilbo. This guy looks pretty weird, but he doesn't really look fun weird. He just looks kind of angry, which I guess is fitting for the character design from the show, because, this is a good interpretation of that character design. I don't know, he's probably my least favorite out of this whole kind of Series 5 in general. My favorite part of him is how they had those big eyebrows right there, and how they executed that. That's actually kind of interesting, but that also gives him that kind of angry look. Maybe it's the buck teeth that's kind of putting me off. I don't know. But you can see right there how they did that. Very interesting technique where they use those kind of sloped pieces right there, which looks really cool. And for his legs, you just have these roof pieces on the bottom kind of turned to the side. And those are on some mini ball joints, as well as his arms right there, which are, I don't know, they don't have too much, they're just kind of these spikes right here. So they're kind of two fingers, but they can't really grasp onto anything, and they just kind of flail off to the side. So that's kind of an interesting design on what they chose right there. And you do have a lot of rotation here, actually 360 degrees with those mini ball joints on the arms. And you do have a little bit of some of these cheese slopes used on the top in that translucent blue color, which looks pretty nice. And his whole head is kind of rotated on one mini ball joint. And then his eyes are the same way as well, because both of those are put on those little mini ball joints. So you could probably put them facing different ways if you move them up like that, which is quite fun to play around with. So that is it for Chilbo. Pretty interesting guy in general, but not one of my favorites of the Series 5 Frosticons. So now let's take a look at the next Mixel. So here's Snoof, who uses his ski-like legs to get into trouble all the time, and those ski-like legs are quite an interesting little piece. They use the little inverted slope pieces in that nice kind of aqua, or sorry, azure, I think it's like medium azure color, which looks really nice. I like how that came out. But other than that, it kind of gives him just these legs on these ball joints, which you could kind of rotate just a little bit. Then you have some other regions, like you have his arms, which are very pathetic and very just to the side and small, which you could rotate around quite a lot, actually, 360 degrees. And then his front headpiece is quite interesting how they did that, because they used two ball joints. You got one on the bottom right here, and then you got one in this middle section. So you get a lot of different positions with this. Now, looking at him, they just kind of use studs to represent his teeth. I kind of like how they use some on this front right here and then on the inside right here. So it kind of gives it a little bit of perspective, kind of giving him buck teeth, or I guess some other kind of design. I don't know. It looks really cool. It's just kind of a perspective trick. That came out very well. And then for his eyepiece right there, they just kind of use a minifigure head with the eye print on it, which has appeared in Mixels before. Now going on to his back, he has these kind of, I guess, propeller-like or engine-like designs just kind of protruding out, where they use those little flick missile pieces with the little cylinder pieces, and then sticking out of it, they use the elemental sword from Ninjago. I think the 2013 wave, which was one of my favorite waves for Ninjago. They use those in that light blue color, so that actually came out kind of creative and very well. I know they use that a lot in the first Frosticons wave. And also, you get this nice kind of spike piece right here in this translucent blue color. So it all comes out kind of to a cool looking figure. He's not one of my favorites of Series 5, but he's still not that bad. So here is the Frosticons Max for Series 5. And I quite like this guy. I actually think he's probably my favorite, or my second favorite character out of the Series 5 Frosticons in general. Now, this guy has kind of a chunky look, but he's kind of displayed a little bit like a brute. He has these flick and fire missiles actually at the back of him, which each of these Max models usually include like a play feature, at least for Series 5. And these have the flick and fire missiles right there, which if you give a good flicking, you can kind of get it pretty far. Now, those are very standard. They just have these little studs at the end, and they use that flick and fire missile kind of base right there. Now, those just pop right back into his hands like that, and you can kind of conceal that just a little bit because these are on the hinge right here, so you kind of make it like a surprise attack. Now, there's a lot of articulation to this guy. You have two joints of articulation right here on the hand part, and then at the kind of shoulder part right there, so you get a lot of different poses all around there. And there's a lot of the articulation using these little clipped, plates, the 1x1 plates with the clips at the end. They use that for the little fingernails, I guess you could say. And it kind of comes out very, very good. I like how that came out. So you have a lot of different ways to pose this guy. And also you got some articulation on the legs right there, which honestly I wish the legs were a little bit more elaborate because he has these very stubby legs. It does give him a more chunky look, which I do like, but the legs themselves actually don't have much room for articulation because of how stubby they are. Now there are some cool designs to the legs. I like how they use the cheese slopes on the bottom and how they attach those minifigure kind of handles right there, which look pretty cool as these little ends of kind of like his feet. The only thing with that is they do come out a little bit flimsy because of this, because of how they use the little fork piece right there to kind of clip those on. So that doesn't always come out too good, or sometimes it kind of flicks off, but that's all right. It was like I think once when I was playing around with him. Now, looking at the back of him, he does have the two little elemental swords from Ninjago. Very nice use of those as these kind of tail pieces. It kind of looks really cool how that came out. And at the top of his head, he has another one of those little minifigure utensil kind of spikes of ice, or whatever you really want to call them. They could be spikes of energy, like how they use them for Scarlet Witch in the Age of Ultron sets. For his mouth right there, he actually just has the top half of his head on a joint of articulation, but the bottom half, unfortunately, is just kind of stuck on there. So you can make him have different poses just by moving around the top, which comes out very cool. Nothing really inside there, but nice use of those teeth pieces. And his eyes just kind of pop out like that. No really articulation to them. They're not on any ball joints or anything like that. But you can kind of rotate them because of how they're placed on the stud. So it kind of comes out kind of cool. And that's it for the Frosticons Max for Series 5. Pretty cool figure overall. The little play feature is a nice addition, and I like how they add those to these Max models. But that's it for this guy. And now let's go on to the final verdict of the other three. So here are the three packagings for these sets, and all pretty cool in their design, very reminiscent of the Frosticons Series 2 wave, and you do have these 3 instruction booklets for each of the sets, and they have a little ad for Mixels, Rush, and some other stuff there, so that's pretty interesting, and now let's go on to the final verdict. So, overall, out of these 3 models, I have to say my favorite one is Krog. Now, it's not because he's the only one with a Nixel, even though that is really cool about him. I loved how they kind of did the eye area. I liked how they used these little minifigure pieces right here, the accessory pieces. They're not really there's not a sort of or a definite name to them. They're used in a lot of different occasions. But it's very nice how they use these kind of as these icy spikes kind of protruding from his eye region. And then they use that nice translucent dish. I guess I'm just a sucker for translucent blue or translucent light blue. I think it looks really cool on him. And also he has a really nice inclusion of those little robot arms in the medium azure color, so that's always nice. And just his overall kind of chomping function works very well, so he's my favorite. The other 2, I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed with. I don't really like them compared to, or they're probably some of my least favorites out of the Series 5 just line of Mixels. This will look a little bit too, I don't know, they look wacky, and they're supposed to look wacky, but I don't know, they just, usually I like it when they're kind of fun wacky. These look just a little bit, I don't know, just kind of weird, wacky. I don't know. It's just me, and it's really just personal opinion, because I think these are all great sets, especially for $5, and great for kids. There's some great pieces, even though I would have preferred some more unique pieces, kind of like the other Mixels waves. I think Series 5, they kind of are using not too much unique pieces, but then again, they are using some other unique pieces. So I would give this whole wave just a B overall. I think it's probably my least favorite of the Series 5 tribes. But it is nice that they kind of expanded the Frosticon line, but then again, there's a downside to that where we're getting a lot of these Frosticons, so I guess these kind of lost their uniqueness. So, I don't know. I still really like these, and I still really recommend these to a lot of the people who are looking for an impulse buy and stuff like that, but these just aren't my favorite Series 5. I do really like the Max model, though, which you guys saw. So, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys later.